On May 23, 1985, 14-year-old Jody Lee Ledkins, who lived in Kansas City, Missouri, would leave her friend Melissa Folscroft's home in the hopes of getting a ride back to her parents' house. Jody was last seen walking northbound on Winchester Avenue and 14th Street in the direction of her boyfriend's home, a 14-minute walk from her friend Melissa's house. In the years since, her mother would receive a handwritten letter that was supposedly from her daughter, as well as a series of threatening phone calls from a group that had claimed to have taken Jody hostage. In 1997, Jody's case would be reclassified from a missing persons case into a probable homicide. There were several leads that would come from two prison inmates who would claim that Jody's body could be found inside of a car at the bottom of the Mississippi River. The river was searched, but neither the car nor Jody was ever found. In today's video, we'll be re-examining the nearly 40-year-old mystery of what really happened to 14-year-old Jody Lee Ledkins. Born on September 20th, 1970, Jody Lee Ledkins was the second youngest child of Karen Stratton and Marvin Eugene Ledkins. Jody's early life would not be without its fair share of challenges, as her parents would divorce in 1981, with her mother marrying a different man. Several years later, they would divorce again, and Karen would go back to Jody's father, Marvin Ledkins. A year prior to her disappearance, Jody would push a security guard, which would result in her being assigned a parole officer. Jody had previously run away from home on 3 separate occasions, although she would eventually return back each time. She also had a habit of being truant and would skip school on the morning of Thursday, May 23, 1985. Jody would spend the day hanging around with her friend, Melissa Folscroft. At some point in the afternoon, the girls and Melissa's mother would travel down the road to visit Jody's boyfriend, a young man by the name of Glenn Williams. Glenn lived just over a half a mile away from the Folscroft home, a roughly 14-minute walk from their house. While at her boyfriend's home, Jody would get into an argument with Glenn, which would result in the girls heading back to Melissa's house. At 10 o'clock in the evening, Jody would call her mother and would request a ride back to her house. Her mother was unable to give her daughter a ride back home because she didn't have access to the family car. However, Jody seemed to be okay with the situation and told her mom that she would get a ride back home from one of her friends. Shortly after this, she would be seen leaving the Folscroft home and walking northbound on Winchester Avenue in the direction of her boyfriend's house. This would be the last known sighting of Jody Lee Ledkins.